Dark Destinations.
These may be end times, night creature. Why would a few more casualties trouble me?
Because their blood will join yours.
A radio drama anthology.
You are wrong.
How you figure? Every merc on Mongo is hunting you down.
Not you. Your partner. He said I didn't have a ray gun.
Full cast performances set in the haunted corners of the globe.
Darkness is coming for you.
That's the fear that haunts me.
Dark Destinations by Father Malone at weirdingwaymedia.com.
Weirding Way Media. Viewing the Horror Anthology Podcast, where this season we're taking a look at George A. Romero's 1980s series, Tales from the Darkside. Sharing the Midnight View with me are the projection booth's Mike White.
Looks like I'm the meanest man on the block.
Also joining us, of course, the Culture Cast Chris Stashew.
Hey, how you doing? Come here, I got something good for you. Come on. This is Michael McDowell, right? The same thing? This is Beetlejuice? No? Okay, I'm a couple weeks early, sorry.
Michael McDowell? Who?
Then he wrote the thing we're about to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Michael McDonald. Wrong one. Okay, sorry. Never mind.
Tonight, we're taking a look at 2 episodes from Season 1. Those are Halloween Candy and The Satanic Piano. Halloween Candy is Season 2, Episode number 5. It originally aired on October the 27th, 1985. Written by Michael McDowell, directed by Tom Savini. Starring Roy Poole and Tim Choate. This is a tale of elder abuse at the hands of a neglectful son. No, this is the tale of a bitter old man whose refusal to participate in trick-or-treating cost him dearly. What'd you think of this one, Chris?
Kind of lowers. I mean, didn't we see this already at some point? Trick or Treat, the literal first episode of this show that we talked about, was this episode in a lot of ways, literally the same thing. Did George Romero forget that he wrote that and then wrote this again? I don't understand. I don't know if it's any better. I don't know if it's any worse. It's still only 20 minutes and that's good, but
no, Michael McDowell and Tom Savini didn't watch the first season at all.
Is that what it is? Okay,
yeah.
Right. Sorry. They were too busy doing other things. They were like, have you guys done like a Halloween episode with the guy, like a mean guy who doesn't want to give out candy? Have you done that yet? Wouldn't have been the first episode or anything. So that is strange. Outside of that, I think it's perfectly fine. I don't understand. The punishment at the end seems a little bit much. It's a lot. I mean, he dies and then he sees himself at one point. He sees a hallucination of himself dead at one point too, which is odd. It's an odd episode, and it's a bottle episode. It must have been the cheapest goddamn episode of the show that they shot.
No, because they put it all into that goblin.
Boy, didn't they.
How about you,
What
Mike?
about you, Mike?
I'm so glad that you said that the main character in this is Roy Poole, because I thought for sure it was Robert's Blossom. I was like, oh boy, this is the youngest I've ever seen Robert's Blossom look. And then also I was thinking, oh, he's kind of doing his role from Home Alone a little bit early. But, in Home Alone, he ends up being the nice guy. And this, he's just a bastard. And this Mr. Killip is a complete bastard through and through. I really enjoyed this one. I had a great time with this episode and just the way that it builds. And yeah, it was very similar to that first episode. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm trying to remember who was our main person in that first one. It was somebody good.
Barnard Hughes.
Thank you. Oh, that's right. Mr. Merlin himself. And this one, I was really glad to see Roy Poole just get tormented the whole way through because he's such a jerk. He so reminds me of my stepdad and his brother they would give away ice cream for Halloween. And like the kids would come up and they'd say, "Oh, you want some ice cream?" They'd be like, "Yeah." Yeah. And my dad would take a scoop and just plunk, put it right in there. So it's right up there with that goblin candy.
The fuck?
Yeah, he's
Wait,
a
what
piece
the?
of shit.
This is a real thing that was going on?
It's a real thing. So
What the
yeah.
fuck? How did this?
Horrible.
Jesus Christ!
Cream in there.
I think I'm more disturbed by that than I am anything I watched in this entire episode. What in God's name was going on in Detroit, Michigan?
I don't know. I don't.
Nice.
Well, it was the same brother that pied my dad in the face, not realizing that when they do that in movies, that they don't have the metal tin.
Oh,
So he
Jesus.
basically broke my dad's nose in that. But yeah, good times, good family,
A rambunctious
very good.
group.
Oh yeah. Well, it was like a bunch of Catholics. What was it? Four girls, 3 boys, all born within like a 10-year period. Yeah, they were something.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Oh yeah.
Kind
But
of like
yeah, I
not
think
giving
they-
out candy on Halloween.
I think they recycled a lot of these costumes. I love that the one kid's just carrying around spray paint, and I'm thinking that's a little person in that costume. I'm
I
thinking
was
it's
gonna
little
say.
people in almost every single one of these costumes.
That bunny rabbit in particular was a bit Ewok-y in
Yeah, boy,
in its
wasn't it?
build. But when he pulled that can out that was like the size of his own arm, I was like,
Right.
this is a good episode, man.
What that? Don't you spray paint my door either. So,
Yeah, get that
whoops.
paint away from here. Like, what the fuck is going on? These are some really malicious kids who just, just give them the goddamn candy. I don't understand this. This is not rocket science. This is like $5 of candy, and your sanity will be restored. What are the stakes here? Why are these the stakes? Is all I'm asking. I love that it's a Halloween story, and I do like the stakes because they make sense in terms of it being a Halloween story. But like, really, this guy dies because he doesn't give up candy. I mean, that's metal as fuck. Sure, why not?
Well, and that they managed to stop time, and that midnight is now forever for this piece of shit. And that's like, too, that his son is going to go to jail at the end of this episode.
1000% he is. That like they cut away at the end. They cut to that corpse, and I thought, oh, they should have overlaid the police officer saying, "So, sir, we'd like to talk to you about your father. Would you join us downtown?"
Yeah, that mannequin or that maquette that they use at the end is pretty ghoulish on top of everything else. It's
Really good.
It's an unpleasant. Yeah, it's an unpleasant thing
really
to have
good.
to freeze frame on for a while. It's pretty convincing. I'm with y'all. I liked this episode. The stakes are bizarre, and yeah, the old man just getting it, and then the son getting it is way worse because I guess he's a dick. I don't know. They're both dicks. I don't understand. Like everybody in this episode is an asshole. That's kind of, especially that goblin with the glowing eyes that jumps up and down on the swing over and over again.
I mean, Father Malone, tell me as far as where does this fit in terms of Creepshow? Because the goblin reminded me a lot of the creature that lives in the box under the stairs. And then the whole thing with the bugs, I was reminded of the last chapter with E.G. Marshall.
Yeah, now that's interesting because Tom Savini very famously did not want to do anything with their creeping up on you segment of Creepshow. Like he built all those pieces, but really didn't want to be involved with the roaches at all. He hates them particularly. So when they showed up in this, I was really surprised that he could have done anything he wanted as far as creepy crawlies, like maggots or whatever, but went ahead with the roaches. This is 3 years after Creepshow.
Okay. Yeah, I was hearing some echoes pretty loudly.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know what? Not only you weren't just hearing echoes, you were seeing echoes because every time they cut to an exterior, they keep showing the porch on this house, and then they'll cut to the moon, which is a beautiful shot of the moon. There are two separate shots. It's because they're both from Creepshow. They're both matte paintings from Creepshow.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I like this whole thing too of how the creature kind of is getting into his head, and they keep doing those flash cuts of the creature, and I was like, ooh, that's really creepy and effective.
That was probably my favorite part of the episode where, they cut to these flashes of what basically looks like an icy version of the goblin with white eyes and white skin, like super close up, almost, subliminal. And I thought that was really artful. Also, when the old man finally hits the ground, like he kind of floats to the ground and for pretty ambitious for a 22-minute episode of this series, in which that creature was also built by Savini specifically for the episode. If you go on IMDb, it says that this is the creature from creep show. It is clearly not fluffy. I don't know how anyone could make that fucking mistake. They are so wildly different in appearance. Oh, gentlemen, we should rejoice. This episode of Tales from the Dark Side makes an official trope for Tales from the Dark Side now, and that is people jumping backwards onto something. People jumping in reverse up onto something. This is the third time now, right? Third time.
Yeah, no, you're right. When I saw that, I was like, oh, didn't we just see that alien do that in that incredible Chuck McCann episode?
And before that, Carol Kane did it to Bud Cort. So third time's the charm.
I like the term amazing being used here, Mike.
Well, let's say incredible because I still can't quite believe
it. Fair.
Now, the episode that this echoes, the Trick or Treat, the first episode, is George Romero. That is way more EC Comics in line. It's like this horrible old miser torturing the townsfolk and then the spirits of Halloween coming to dole out justice on him. I'm not so sure that this man deserves what he gets here.
No.
He's just a bitter old man who doesn't want to participate in Halloween, and his son forces him to participate. And by the way, the son's, listen, you have to give out candy or they're going to trick the house, they're going to egg you or what. Who cares? Who cares if they did? Anyway.
I am tired of getting up on that ladder and crawling into that tree and taking that toilet paper out.
Ultimately, this child kills his father because he forces him to give out candy.
Ultimately, no, I honestly think that I wasn't joking when I said this is a tale of elder neglect.
It is.
That's
it
really
totally
what this
is.
Yeah, I mean, even to the point, what we're saying, he pushes the dad to give out the candy. And not only that, and this is I don't think this is intended, but it ties in. The candy he puts in that bowl, it's all Hershey Kisses and a few Tootsie Rolls, the tiny Tootsie Rolls, and then a couple of full-size Snickers. So it's don't not give out candy because they'll egg the house or they'll throw toilet paper up, but we will cause a riot in the disparity of choice when you're handing it out to the kids. These kids are going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so not enough Halloween candy. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's one bag for the kids, one bag for me. So it's got to be a lot more.
I don't have any kids come to my door, thankfully. Well, not thankfully. I would give them candy if they did, but my neighborhood is not great for it. But I don't think that a goblin would come and kill me if I didn't give out candy. But then again, I must not be an elderly man.
I believe if that goblin did come, though, and it actually got into your house, and then it swatted your watch off and broke it, and then left, I don't think you would shrug, well, that's over, and then just go about your evening.
I'm sitting down to watch TV now.
Yeah, I think you'd be a little more shaken. Yeah, exactly. That guy's just so nonchalant about it. Oh, goblin. What's funny is when it comes back, I don't think that's a costume. Oh, you
right.
think?
What was it? Dead giveaway. What was the dead giveaway here? It's glowing fucking eyes? It's too bad I didn't have a scene where he tried to grab the mask off and it was like, this is not a mask. Where was that scene?
I would have enjoyed that, actually. McDowell managed to weave in another Tales from the Dark Side, not a trope necessarily, but a theme, the technophobia, where he knows he's trapped in a loop because he tries to call out to his son and gets the time on his rotary phone. And it's just the same time over and over. And also, I guess this is a sign that it's 1985, that you can get on your rotary phone still and call to find out the time. Remember doing that, Mike? Chris, do you have any knowledge of ever doing that in your life, calling the time on your phone?
No, but I used my phone to call the movies to get the movie time. So, not far off. I was asking for a different kind of time, a more specific time, one might say.
Hello,
fair.
Welcome to Movie Phone.
You have selected Lilo and Stitch, rated PG-13. Rest in peace, movie phone.
Every time the power would go off in your house, you'd be like, fuck, you have to call the number and find out the time. Oh, it's 5:12. No, wait, 5:13 now. So,
that's fucking wild. Yeah. No, I didn't have to do that. Sorry, guys.
Call the weather, too.
Yeah, exactly. Find out what the weather's going to be like tomorrow.
Jeez Louise.
The phone book was a treasure trove of all of these things where you're like, really? That's a service that I can call? But yeah.
They Might Be Giants, the Dial song.
Which is still going, I believe.
It's still going, but it's only on the internet now, I think. But it's still a phone number, but it's an internet number. But you can hear much more of the song because they don't have it's not the length of the tape anymore.
What did they say, Gloria? There must be giants? What? That's the song on Miscellaneous Tea that I skip every time, is the actual recording of the people who were on Dial a Song.
Yeah, and we're there for the songs. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Also, another thing I noticed, the son, in addition to his many crimes against his dad, could you replace his doorbell, please? It sounds like the emergency broadcast system every time it went off. It was really startling. No wonder he doesn't want trick-or-treaters. The son should just put up a sign that says knock, and things might go a little more smoothly. Did this guy
already got the
deserve
sign
this?
that says no trespassers, religious fanatics. I can't remember all the things.
Or
on
service workers or something.
Right.
It's- yeah.
Religious fanatics alone should tell us who this guy is, and why is the son trying to make him anything but? Maybe the son should just sit there. Or I don't know, they made up some bullshit thing for him that he had to go. But
All of a sudden, Harry Chapin's Cats in the Cradle plays in the background. I just don't have time for you anymore, Dad. The first 4 chords. That's all you have to hear. It's fucked up because ultimately the way to save the father in the story is for the son to just stick around.
Yeah, I guess that's the ultimate meaning of it. Like the son, as he's leaving, your refrigerator has no food in it. Whose fucking fault is that?
Great, you're leaving him like this too, dude.
No, you just dropped off some candy, and the father says at one point, like, all I do is eat. I have nothing else. Get your father either into a home or get him into a group of something, like get him a hobby. What is happening here? This episode is actually really horrific.
Yeah, this episode is deeply upsetting.
God bless Michael McDowell. See, when he's really good, he's really good. It's so subtly under there because this just feels like another silly, and now the Halloween people are coming to teach this old man a lesson for not doing the trick or treat thing. No, really, it's about this old man who starved to death because his son was so neglectful.
God. On a very special episode on Tales from the Dark Side.
My God.
I like those, that whole cosmic fate thing, where it's just like punishing this guy, really, they do punish the father as well, since he is going to go to jail. But I like that it's, you aren't obeying the rules of Halloween, so that the cosmos is going to get you and just set the whole record straight, murder you, and throw your son in.
If this person has relatives, I think they're having a bad night too. Like, I think that's how far-reaching the dark side is.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good episode of the show for sure. I agree.
All right. Let's move on to our next episode, which is The Satanic Piano. This is season 2, episode number 6. It aired originally on November the 3rd, 1985. This was written by John Harrison from a story by Carl Jacobi, directed by John Harrison, and starring Michael Warren, Lisa Bonet, and Felice Orlandi. This is the tale of a songwriter struggling with writer's block who's given an otherworldly instrument that can turn his thoughts into music. What did you think about this one, Mike?
Hey, again, pardon me, really enjoyed this one as well. I don't know what's going on this week, but I just really found this one to be compelling. I like the creepy record producer, and they find that he's got the past, and he's been trying all this time to basically make a pact with Satan and open up the gates to hell or whatever it is in order to, do his thing. And that, I think it would have been great if they had a little bit more budget for the actual special effects in here, especially when it comes to the piano, the satanic piano of the title. But I thought it was all right. And it was odd seeing Lisa Bonet in this young role. Of course, I'm more familiar with her from the Cosby Show, but then also, even why am I blanking on
High Fidelity?
No, God, no.
Angel
More.
Jesus, Mike.
Angel Heart.
Yeah, I hate High Fidelity. Sorry.
I do
Okay.
too. I'm with you on
That's
that.
okay. Hey, whatever, guys.
Angel Heart, yes. Very reminded me of Angel Heart. And she just looks kind of trashy in this. But I thought she was, well, she does. She looks a little trashy to me. That's all.
What? That was, where did that come from?
I disagree with that sentiment.
All right. But I enjoyed how this one goes. Then it fills up to 22 minutes pretty darn well.
There's a lot going on in this episode. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, what'd you think?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, again, this is kind of part and parcel for some of the things we've had before, where it's the magic and mystery of technology paired with the mystical and the magical. And I think it was an interesting idea. I don't think Michael Warren's given enough to do. I mean, Lisa Bonet is in this. And like you mentioned, Mike, I mean, she's very young and she's also not given much to do. But I think the idea is interesting that there's this guy who sells her an instrument and then he sells her father an instrument and he kidnaps her because she's the one who can be his angel of music, I guess, to use a Phantom of the Opera parlance. So I think it's fine. I guess for me, it wasn't personally that compelling compared to the last episode because, again, I mean, Faustian bargains are a dime a dozen. Father Malone lifts up his swan tattoo into frame. I mean, that's what I thought of when I thought of this episode was Phantom of the Paradise, which is a much better story and much more interesting story. And that's kind of what this made me feel like. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it for what it was, but definitely some of the performances left me wanting more as it
The first thing I wrote in my notes was that I keep saying this because it's true. Deals with the devil episodes never get old. Never. They have the least variety in plot, but they can always be made to be the most interesting. And I found that to be this one as well. I loved the continuation of the technophobia going on through the series here, but made through music. And I love the design of that fucking piano, man, where they've taken the flat part of the piano, the harp-shaped part of the piano, they've stood it upright and turned it into a circuit board. And a circuit board with a little window basically into another dimension, I guess, like some sort of swirling vortex. I loved that. I don't know. I love the design. It doesn't hurt that John Harrison is himself a composer and composed the music in here. Have you heard anything I've said, Chris? There's a whole lot of Day of the Dead influence here. The score for Day of the Dead, like so much of it. And there are two separate scores going on here because they're dealing with the father who's trying to write his and then the daughter writing hers. But they both sound like they came from Day of the Dead, like straight out of Day of the Dead.
Well,
I liked it.
His song feels so cheesy and just that like real synth. And I'm like, oh man, this feels so out of step with the time. Her song is very beautiful, but then I kept thinking, what if their two songs matched up? Like I kept thinking, what if the two songs get played at the same time? And that's going to be like the solution. Like both of us together, we make the music together, my lovely daughter. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
You know what would have been good if that was the revelation, but then the further revelation is that sound opens some portal to a horrible dimension.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It kind of had too upbeat of an ending. That was kind of, I don't know, like all of a sudden the show was very nice. And the show hasn't been nice for a while. I mean, Parlor Floor Front was pretty mean. I mean, Halloween Candy was extremely mean. And this episode, 1/3 of the way gets there. I mean, the dad's hand is burned. And at the end, he goes, "You're my music now, and I care only about you." Okay, he learned his lesson. We get it. Fine. I don't know. I was a little disappointed that, to your point, Father Malone, that there wasn't some like at the end in the denouement, there was like, and they did it and made it worse. And the villain, achieved his goal. I don't know. This is a short form anthology show. I honestly prefer the bad guys to get one over on the heroes from time to time. And this show does do that. So it was a little surprising to give this episode a happy ending as well, as it were.
Do you know what this felt like to me? Bill and Ted Face the Music. Clearly.
Oh,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay,
Where
sure.
this guy's greatest creative contribution is his daughter, who's actually got the touch. She's actually got the talent to make music sort of effortlessly. Everything he's struggling to do, she can do perfectly. But she wouldn't be around without him. So that's, because that's the lesson learned at the end of this, right? With his, by the way, saw this when it aired, and the state of his hand after punching into another is really horrific. It's gooey and burned, and you can see the bones through it. It's and on top of which, this guy is a piano man first and foremost, so that part of his life is over. Never mind. Yeesh.
Yeah, it was a good effect. Yeah. Anytime anyone sticks their hand into something gloppy and gloopy and then pulls it out and it's just destroyed, it's yeah. And then again, the instrument of it all. Yeah, I guess it is like Bill. Yeah, I almost forgot that movie existed. Frankly, like it's one of those movies that just kind of came out and I forgot it existed. But it does have that kind of I guess the framing device to it of my greatest achievement is my child.
The other film it reminds me of is Rock and Rule, because in that the villain is looking for the perfect voice to open up a portal to some other, Cthulhu-like dimension. So, this obviously this is a contemporary of that movie and predates the Bill and Ted. Yeah, the Debbie Harry one. What was I going to say?
I was saying it reminds me of the Devil and Daniel Mouse. I don't know if you remember that. Nelva animation one. Yeah,
I do.
Which was used wonderfully by Bauhaus in one of their songs. It's just, they're so, dark and brooding and stuff. And then they go ahead and use almost the entire animation inside of one of their songs.
You mentioned the music for the dad being really cheesy. That's because it's a synth version of a marimba, sort of doing a kind of a Caribbean beat there. Harrison did most of his work on a Prophet 5 synthesizer. He did the entirety of the Creepshow score on the Prophet 5. And if anyone knows, if I'm speaking incorrectly, I'm almost positive the same is true with this score and the Day of the Dead score. So that's one of the settings on here. Like I said, like you hear those sort of same synthy marimbas you hear all through Day of the Dead. Anytime something happy is going on, which isn't frequently in Day of the Dead, but you do hear it there.
That one, the gong.
The zombies when they're
Wasn't that
happy
the
and they're
gong?
walking.
Oh yeah, no, he does quote the gong in Day of the Dead at one point. Yeah, but it's that. No, I love that part. The idea, by the way, that just there's so much going on. This episode is really packed because just the concept of somebody trying to put the soul of a pure musician into this satanic instrument as a weapon of power or something like that. That's pretty heady stuff. Like, not to mention the dynamic between the father and the daughter here, and like this guy's getting over the fact that he's sort of washed up, but he has to sort of solace himself with his daughter's talent and what she's up to, meant to achieve. But really, this episode is a parable about having the right representation as an artist, because this isn't some guy.
Jesus.
Sincerely, this isn't some guy who is like struggling. He, in his own words, says, "I sold 1 million units last year." He says
That's
it,
true.
right?
That's true.
He's in a nice apartment. He's doing well, right? So, for all intents and purposes, this is a story about him having a bit of like writer's block, like where the record company doesn't like the latest tracks he's given them. But you know what? He sold 1 million units last year. Fuck those guys. This members only jacket button down guy with jeans and a fucking pinky ring comes in. This is his representation. He's like, well, we're just going to take whatever they can give us. Now can I have a sandwich? I'm like, fire this man immediately. Let me represent you. Like this.
Yeah. It's life lessons being learned on these episodes of Tales from the Dark Side. Don't abuse your parents, and make sure if you're being represented, they have your best interest in mind.
Yeah, he's the kind of agent that would have been funneling all this money into another account and be like, I don't know what's going on.
You seem like,
oh no,
Larry
we're just
Sanders
tied up for
birthday.
funds right now. We just don't know what to do.
Yeah, but exactly. I don't know that I did not understand that part of it. If he had been like a struggling guy, then it would make a little bit more sense. But
Yeah.
I think a little Yefendi action probably would have worked a little better here. That wasn't he like a struggling comedian? Isn't that the whole thing? And
yeah,
Nino's
but
like,
no, I don't think it needed that. I think the sort of washed up guy is fine, but that unfortunately they set up their own timeline to be like he said. I sold 1 million units last year. If he had sold 1 million units 10 years ago,
right?
If this was a little closer to like what we get in Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, the James Remar Lover's Vow story, where he's like, yeah, he was a big splash. I don't know how many years ago, but he ain't been paying the bills with his art lately. Then
Right.
that's something. But overall, loved it. This is a double header of fucking greatness here on Tales from the Dark Side.
I mean, knock me over with a feather. When I watched these, I was like, what? What? No, these are really good. This is why I signed up for this show. This is finally happening.
I feel like Tales from the Dark Side's been good for the most part, though, right?
I would say that their batting average definitely seems to be higher than what we've talked about in the past. I mean,
Maybe
no
not
offense to
75%, but 70.
no offense to Mr. Sterling, but yeah, I'm finding Mr. Romero handles this a little bit better.
Agreed.
The bad ones have not felt offensive. I haven't been mad at any episode. I've just been like, that was okay. They could have done something better there. Whereas frequently with Night Gallery, I was like, fuck you. Why did you just waste my time with that?
I keep thinking of those people up in the tree, and who was it, David Carradine or whoever that was?
That was groovy. It was Jeannot Zwark. That one. Put them up in the trees in these pads. It'd be groovy.
Oh boy.
There's the villain in this episode. He has a line, "Inspiration is such a fickle vamp." I've never heard a character want to say bitch more on syndicated television ever. Like, vamp. They're just like, what can we put in here? Vamp will do, I guess.
Vamp. That's a good word.
Anything else about this one, gents? Oh, I do have one more thing. I love a musical lock, but it's probably not a good idea to put the notes on the fucking lock, letting everyone know that it's your musical lock.
Yeah, I did like how our main character had it memorized after just seeing it once and was like, oh, Lisa Bonet, it's this. And, all right, cool.
Oh, I have a Lisa Bonet story. In 1992, when I was a projectionist in Santa Monica, it was early. We had a matinee of something, and I had come downstairs, and a girl came out and asked if I would help her find her glasses, and did not recognize it as Lisa Bonet. All I saw was, who is this fucking gorgeous human being? And then went in with her and looked. And then I found her glasses and gave it to her. And we went back into the lobby, into the sort of full daylight. And I was like, oh my God, it's Lisa Bonet. She was luminous. I mean, you see it on the TV or in movies and stuff like that, but it's one of those people who they've got that it factor. They just fucking light up the room. The other person I met who had that was Rose McGowan at the same theater. Met her one day and was just like, Jesus Christ, what that gods walk amongst us. So anyway, Lisa Bonet, big fan.
I don't like her with short hair. I don't think hers like a young child with short hair just kind of doesn't look like Lisa Bonet, but I like her a lot. In apparently the movie that I'm the only one out of the three of us who likes, and you guys had a physical reaction to, but both of you filmically vomited, just high fidelity. Jesus. I know you guys like John Cusack. What the fuck?
I love John Cusack. I do not like people that make lists.
That's fair. That's fair. I thought you were going to say you like Cell instead.
I'd rather watch the movie Torque again for Lisa Bonet than watch High Fidelity.
That's fair.
All right. On the next episode of Midnight Viewing, we'll be taking a look at 2 new episodes from season 2. Those are The Devil's Advocate and Distant Signals. Midnight Viewing, the horror anthology podcast, is a proud member of Weirding Way Media Group, and our theme song was composed by HP with an assist by Donald Rubenstein. Until next time, what are you working on? Where can people find it? Mike White.
You're never going to believe this, but the same network that this show is on, Weirding Way Media, got a show on there too. You can hear that over there. There's a couple shows where you can hear my voice. So if you're interested, come on over to weirdingwaymedia.com. How about you, Chris?
weirdingwaymedia.com. You heard it here first. Then you heard it here again. Now you're hearing it me say it the third time. So there you go. Yeah, Weirding Way Media. That's where all the audio diversions that I work on can be found. Other than the show that Mike and I do that Father Malone is going to be joining us on very soon called Rankin' on Bond, which can be found on our Patreons, patreon.com/culturecast and patreon.com/projectionbooth at the $10 level. So that's where you can find that if you're into it.
That should actually be out when this is coming out. So yeah, go over there and check that out. It's me talking about Bond with these guys and Rich Haddam. It's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite Bond movies. As for me, what they said, weirdingwaymedia.com, Midnight Viewing. I'm also a co-host with HP over on Night Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast. You can check everything out over there. And thank you all for joining us here at Midnight Viewing. Until next time, try to enjoy the daylight.